Hey y'all, today I'm going to show you how to make my favorite gluten-free banana pudding, complete with homemade cookies. It's not the traditional banana pudding. In fact, it's based on Paula Deen's Not Yo Mama's banana pudding recipe, and it definitely isn't Yo Mama's. It's better. No offense to your mamas out there. So let's get into it and I'll show you how to make it. If you want to use a store-bought gluten-free cookie and not make your own, you can skip right to putting together the banana pudding at the minute marker 428. Otherwise, to make the Chessmen style cookies, we'll start by beating 1 cup or 226 grams of softened butter with a half a cup or 100 grams of granulated sugar and a half a teaspoon of salt until light and fluffy. If you've never heard of Paula's famous Not Your Mama's banana pudding, I'll leave a link above for her version. It starts with Pepperidge Farm Chessmen cookies, and as you can guess, Pepperidge Farm has yet to jump on the gluten-free bandwagon and make some for us, so I chose to make my own. However, you can always use store-bought gluten-free cookies if you'd rather take the easy way out. Okay, that looks good. Now I'm going to add in 1 large egg at room temperature and a teaspoon of vanilla extract. I also have a recipe for homemade gluten-free vanilla wafers if you'd like to use those as opposed to making these butter cookies. The butter cookies are not traditional, like I said, and the vanilla wafers are, but I love the way these look and taste, and I also love the texture. It's a little unique after they soften. They're soft, but they still have a little bit of a bite to them. Now I'll add in the flour, which is 2 3/4 cups or 385 grams of Kim's gluten-free all-purpose flour blend. You can try to use a store-bought blend, but please note that I haven't tried this. I haven't tested it. They're all so different, so I really can't speak for any of them. All right, this is looking good. We'll divide it between 2 sheets of plastic wrap, and we'll just wrap them up and refrigerate them for at least 30 minutes. But you can actually refrigerate them up to a day or 2. And when it's been long enough, we'll pull 1 disc of dough out at a time and leave the other one in the refrigerator. And we're going to roll this out on a well-floured surface into somewhat of a rectangular shape that's roughly a 1/4 inch thick. And what I'm using to stamp out my cookie shapes is a Spring Flowers embossing rolling pin. I got it on Amazon. It's super cheap, but you can also use those plunger style cookie cutters. They basically do the same thing. So to use this embossing rolling pin, dust it first with a 1-to-1 mixture of GF all-purpose flour blend and powdered sugar, and start at one end of the dough and gently but firmly press along the length of the dough. This was the closest thing to Chessmen style cookies I could find, and honestly I think it's cuter than Chessmen personally, but they also have these in so many different varieties, Christmas, Halloween, whatever you want. When you've done one, take either a knife or what I have here, it's a pastry wheel, and just cut them apart where the lines are. I like to then take an offset spatula and slide it under each cookie to lift them up gently, and then I just place them on a parchment lined baking sheet. And once you have them all done and cut out, we'll now brush them with a little bit of beaten egg yolk. So I have 2 egg yolks here. You can try to be gentle and only get it on the raised surfaces and designs, which is what you're supposed to do, but it's a little harder for me to do that at least, so I just brush it over the entire cookie. We'll get these into a 350F oven for 12 to 14 minutes or until light golden brown around the edges, and then we can assemble the pudding. So in a medium bowl, I'm adding 2 cups or 480 grams of cold whole milk, and to that I'll add 1 4-ounce or 113 gram package of dry French vanilla pudding mix. You can always use just straight up vanilla pudding mix if you'd rather. And this is the instant variety. Make sure it's the instant. I'll beat this per the package instructions, which is for about 2 minutes. You could also totally go the route of making your own vanilla pudding or creme patissiere. I've got plenty of recipes for that on my website, but I felt since I'm already making the cookies, I'll cut corners where I can. All right, I'm just going to cover this and we're going to get it into the fridge for 5 minutes and it'll thicken considerably. But while that's in the fridge, I have an 8-ounce block or 226 grams of cream cheese that's been softened in a large bowl here. And I'll just beat this up really quickly until smooth. Now I'm going to add in a whole can, which is 14 ounces or 397 grams of sweetened condensed milk, aka the nectar of the gods, right? It is so good, you guys. This recipe is supposed to use a 12-ounce or 340-gram container of thawed Cool Whip, and you can certainly use that, but I didn't have any on hand, and I wasn't going to go to the store for one other thing, and I always seem to have heavy whipping cream, so that's what I'm using. 2 cups or 480 grams of heavy whipping cream, along with a teaspoon of vanilla and a 1/4 cup or 31 grams of powdered sugar. And we'll just whip this until stiff peaks. All right, we can assemble this thing now. I've got my cream cheese mixture and I'm going to add the thickened vanilla pudding to it. And I'm just going to stir it throughout. No need to be gentle. Now I'll take just about a cup or so of this whipped cream and sacrifice that to lighten the rest of the mixture. And I'll just kind of whip that through a little less gently. And now I can be more gentle with the rest of this whipped cream and just fold it through so I don't lose all that air. All right, here's how we assemble this. We start with a layer of cookies on the bottom, and I use the less pretty ones and save the prettier ones for the top. Now comes the bananas. I have 6 bananas here, but you can use as many or as little as you want, but it is banana pudding, so make sure you use enough of the bananas to get that full banana flavor. Now we'll take half of the cream mixture and scoop that on top of the bananas. And smooth out the top. And then you just repeat this. When we're done with the cream on top, add the remaining cookies. And speaking of that, you're going to see I am 1 cookie shy of completing this top pattern. And I didn't realize, so in the future, I will make sure to have enough cookies set aside for the top. Okay, we'll cover this with plastic wrap and get it into the fridge for at least 4 hours, but I like to put mine in overnight so that the cookies soften perfectly. Now, if you thought you couldn't have banana pudding anymore, you were dead wrong, guys, because this banana pudding, whether you make it with store-bought cookies or homemade, is absolutely incredible. The cookies are soft, but not so soft that they're mushy. And the pudding itself with the fresh bananas throughout is so creamy and smooth without any artificial banana flavor in sight. So, so good, you guys. Enjoy.